It's time to scrub up, get our beepers, lose our fear, and go back 2 decades for one of the most beloved sitcoms of the noughties. This is Why Should I Watch? Scrubs. Scrubs is an American sitcom aired between 2001 and 2010, spanning 9 seasons. This video will only talk about the original show, and not the 2026 revival, but hopefully I'll give you enough reasons to visit or revisit the original and perhaps move along to the revival. I'll also not be taking into account Season 9, as it seems like the best play, even according to the revival, is to pretend it never happened. For those that need to know, Season 9 was created after what was thought to be the final season, Season 8, which in general opinion gave a perfect ending to the show, as much as you can with a long-running, loved sitcom. So then the creators and producers had to kind of do a spin-off without doing a full spin-off, which eventually left Season 9 as a mix of ideas and places which don't really translate into anything on its own. A lot of hard work was put into it for sure, so I say all of this without malice or criticism. Bill Lawrence is the creator and showrunner of Scrubs. If his name is not familiar, his work should be. Bill Lawrence has been responsible for some of the most beloved series of the last decade. He co-created Ted Lasso, Shrinking, and more recently, Rooster. Besides being a showrunner, he writes and tends to direct on the series he's involved in. There are 169 episodes from Season 1 to the finale of Season 8. And each episode has a runtime of between 22 to 27 minutes. Leading off with the runtime of each episode, let me get into some TV nerdiness. You might have heard of the half-an-hour sitcom or comedy as a genre format on TV. That's because TV shows used to fall in particular brackets informed by the genre. In 2026, that's all mostly out of the window. But why does this half-hour TV comedy have a runtime which is mostly around the 23-minute mark? That's not half an hour, right? The answer is simple. Commercials, ads, spots, whatever you want to call it. These were network grid times, so you ran 22 minutes of show with about 8 minutes of ads in between. The mighty ad break. Getting more specific, Scrubs is a single-camera medical sitcom, in opposition to multi-camera sitcoms, which were shot in sets in front of a live audience, think Friends or Seinfeld. Single-camera sitcoms shoot similarly to a film. It's also serialized in opposition to episodic, meaning that there is an order of events which affect different episodes and characters' development. If you've only been watching series over the last decade or so, you might notice how long each season is. As anything that runs that long, there will be valleys and peaks in terms of episode quality and relevance. Any series that was part of these older TV grid formats was meant to run once a week for about 5 to 6 months. It wasn't built in a world where binging was such a commonplace. You had to wait a week for the next episode, and perhaps miss a few because you couldn't be in front of the TV when it aired. If this is your first time interacting with these older serialized formats, keep that present and consume at a pace you're comfortable with. This is not a race or an endurance test, it's entertainment. If you come across an episode that ends in a massive cliffhanger, take a moment of silence for all of us who had to wait a full week to find out what happens next. Or in the case of it being a season finale, half a year to a year, sometimes.
That'll do it.
In the beginning, we follow a group of new interns at a teaching hospital, from the moment they start their internship, namely John Dorian, Elliot Reed, and Chris Turk. All 3 being regular cast members on the show, joined on that same bracket by Perry Cox, Bob Kelso, Carla Espinosa, and the janitor. JD is the main character, Dr. John Dorian, portrayed by Zach Braff. Most of the episodes follow his own narrative of the events on display. We often hear his thoughts, not just his dialogue. One of the things that most Scrub fans will remember fondly are JD's mid-thought or mid-conversation fantasies, where the most unhinged out of this world or surreal realities play out in brief seconds. These daydreams are a cornerstone of the show. JD starts off as a scared intern discovering the realities of modern medical treatment. When I say modern, I mean in the reality of the running years of the show, so early to late 2000s. Even though JD is our host in this world, be warned, you'll find a lot of his personality unlikable. His empathy and sensitivity, especially when it concerns his patients, should still keep you rooting for the guy.
That's it?
That's it.
JD's best friend is the surgical intern Chris Turk, portrayed by Donald Faison. In the show, the medical doctors and the surgeons are often equated to the nerds and the jocks of the hospital. In line with this, Turk comes across as an overly confident person, ready to action, seemingly with no fear of consequence. Together, these two have built one of the most iconic romances in TV history. Their loyalty to each other seems to have no boundaries. Seeing their antics in the hospital makes you wish you could work in one, till you remember that in real life, a lot of their pastime activities at work would be illegal. Sarah Chalke is Dr. Elliot Reed, a medical intern like JD. Having a very different background to the other characters and being heavy on the neuroses and quirks, Elliot is a fun character to watch develop. Once again, don't expect love at first sight. This character has a lot of growth to do. As with JD, you might find yourself developing a sort of curious hatred for their actions in the first few episodes. The relationship between Elliot and JD touches on one of the most common tropes of sitcoms and other genres, the will they, won't they romantic setup. Don't let this deter you. The show is aware of this commonplace and it's not afraid to play with it. Dr. Perry Cox is one of the hospital's medical attendings. John C. McGinley is in peak form with his character. Its extreme traits like superinflated ego, unshakable confidence and cynicism let the actor get away with a lot of behaviors that would be considered overacting in other situations. It's one of my favorite characters from the show, accumulating all I've mentioned previously with an immense sense of justice, genuine care for his patients, and drive to fight for what is best for each of them. Dr. Cox fills the role of the involuntary mentor to the new interns. He struggles as he deals with being a role model while not wanting to be one, but also knowing that teaching the youngsters can be the difference between the life or death of someone are a really fun part of the show. Eventually, we get to see more of what makes him tick, and perhaps even his human side. And I'll tell you, it's beautiful, but tough. Each time. Dr. Bob Kelso is the chief of medicine. Ken Jenkins delivers far more than you might initially expect. The character feels like the tyrannical corporate boss keeping things running no matter the human cost. The bottom line is the point and nothing else. The devil himself. Kelso develops eventually, and it surprised me the first time I watched Scrubs how much I cared for him once he was fleshed out. As a bonus, this guy has some of the funniest one-liners on the show.
Trust me, if I ever met a Japan Air stewardess who snored like Enid, I'd marry her tomorrow.
Carla Espinosa, given life by Judy Reyes, is a respected, bossy, experienced nurse. Often she serves as a barrier between the harsh reality the interns find, now that they're actually practicing medicine, and their need to gain confidence and to get used to their new roles. This character has a great background, and is also the only nurse on the regular cast, meaning she is the best window the show has to offer in terms of the nursing staff. Her journey has quite a few interesting themes for a sitcom of the 2000s. Neil Flynn embodies the character known only as the janitor, who started the show as a recurring cast member but soon became a fan favorite as well as a crucial part of the show's humor. As a consequence, he became one of the regular cast members. His relationship with JD and most other characters is antagonistic, sometimes to the point of abuse. But he also has some important points to prove to other characters when their behavior is less than stellar. If you've ever met a fan of the show, they might have excitedly told you that at some point Neil Flynn had very few lines written for him, as the showrunner and writers encouraged him to improvise a lot of his dialogue. The janitor became an iconic TV character and a pop culture reference. These characters' careers, personal lives and relationships will be on full display and develop over each episode and season, so the characters you begin with and think you know will suffer change. This is one of the strongest reasons to recommend Scrubs, and most successful sitcoms from roughly the turn of the century. You are supposed to care for these characters for a long time. You're supposed to want to see them grow, succeed, or be humbled in situations where you feel like they are wrong. Even their faults are supposed to annoy you, like a real-life friend which you love, but has a habit or a personality trait that grinds your gears. Here, Scrubs shines, as this group of characters are nowhere near perfect role models or always on the right side of the story being told. They are built out with a lot of wrinkles to iron, which for a show which starts with young, fresh out of college, hospital interns is perfect, giving the series creatives a massive canvas for drama and character development, without having to brute force any new out of character events or reactions. Often you'll see JD and others fight through low self-esteem, disillusionment, fear, overconfidence and misjudgment. Their massive blind spots personality-wise will make you go, "No, not again, JD," to your TB like a madman. The natural occurrence of these obstacles makes this wacky comedy be deeply grounded on the human condition, which works on many levels, and might often have us wondering about our own choices in life.
Nobody else could see it, but so that you could see it.
Besides the regular cast, the show is packed with interesting recurring and guest appearances, and quite a few background characters are not only given names and lines, but they also get some development, mostly for fun. You'll find doctors with names that sound like curses, characters which are themselves a visual gag, interns that can't stop killing patients, and even some recurring patients. To add to this point, the show had great guest roles throughout its runtime, including the actors Michael J. Fox, Ryan Reynolds, Courtney Cox, Dick Van Dyke, and Brendan Fraser, to name a few. The latter involved in one of the show's most memorable storylines.
Bloody.
This is definitely one of the reasons to give this series an opportunity. Whatever you make of the world presented to you, it always feels alive and teeming with interesting situations and memorable characters. This show is very much a product of its time. For example, some of the jokes haven't aged too well, be it for how society evolved or just because some references, and the show makes a lot of them, are no longer part of the zeitgeist and might fall flat for some audiences. After all, it's been 25 years since Scrubs premiered. Some less gracious aging is to be expected, but it might also be a great reason to give it a watch in two distinct ways. If you were around in the noughties and have actual memories of that time, the show has now gained a little time capsule-like sheen which immediately transports you to a time that no longer exists, with flip phones and beepers, no social media, and frankly, to a type of TV production we no longer make, built for the long haul and not quick disposal. If on the other hand you are too young to have any recollection of that time period, but are curious about it, it will also work that way. The dated references, outdated technology, and long gone habits and pastimes of the characters paint a solid picture of life in the 2000s. The music on the show plays a massive role in carrying you to that time period. A lot of the cast and staff of the show have been said to contribute to the musical picks. Krista Miller, who plays Jordan Sullivan and is the real-life wife of Scrubs creator Bill Lawrence, was a sort of uncredited music supervisor and has been given recognition by her husband and others for some of the most relevant emotional music picks of the show. These picks will let you explore some of what the noughties were through the pop, indie and soft rock tracks, so easily associated with the 2000s. If I had to pick the single most defining quality of Scrubs as a show, and the reason I believe so many people gravitated towards it every week, is the massive heart it has. The medical setting and the type of patients being treated creates a lot of opportunities for graveyard humor and cynicism about healthcare in general. But when it matters, these characters always manage to show their best side, to overcome their flaws to the betterment of their patients or their co-workers. And it doesn't feel cheap. Many of these make or break moments make sense in reality, where we, ourselves, in the same situation, would also let go of our pride, stubbornness, or pettiness for the better of those we care about. Be it your bestest friend in the world or a complete stranger in need of emergency medical care. My experience and the experience of many fans with older sitcoms is one of nostalgic comfort. Since the beginning of streaming as our main source of entertainment, many billions of dollars have been spent on creating the next big thing, and often it turns out that no amount of money can predict an audience's reaction to a piece of media, with tons of unlikely shows becoming overwhelming successes and flagship shows with a lot of resources failing miserably to gather an audience. A pain point for streamers has been the fact that no matter how hard they try to give us what we supposedly want, their numbers show droves of people continuously rewatching a handful of iconic shows like The Office,
I declare bankruptcy!
Modern Family,
Please just take the damn picture.
Friends, amongst a few others. After all these years, they still have to fight over the licensing rights for these shows when they much rather give us in-house productions. I believe there are a number of reasons for this, including something less romantic like demographics. But allow me to be more emotional than rational for a second. These shows represent a time when things were simpler than today. A sitcom was meant to entertain you and let you forget about your woes for half an hour, and a lot of these series were very good at it. In spite of the setting, crazy antics, and completely unbelievable situations written, you were on the journey with the characters and did not feel like an outsider looking in. This was your ride as much as the characters. Scrubs is a prime example of this, with many fans unwilling to let go of a show that made them feel so much for so long. Scrubs as a TV series was an underdog that beat the odds. You tuned in to laugh and suddenly it made you cry, and feel, and want more. This relationship refuses to die, so I still believe, to this day, that this is a show that anyone can enjoy, given the opportunity to actually spend some time with these characters and their lives. I hope I transported some of the good sentiments I nurture for this show into this video. I'll see you next time, scrub up, and happy watching!